The US is being accused of waging a proxy war against Tehran, even as its own military reports rising casualties. Iranian Foreign Minister Araqchi warns of terrorist movements along the border as Tehran claims an invasion of its territory has begun. US-backed Kurdish fighters are reported to be moving toward Iranian territory, while President Trump comments cautiously on the situation.
Thank you very much.
Araqchi publicly challenges Trump's approach and seeks support from Kurdish leaders in nearby countries to prevent escalation. Quiet US talks with Kurdish groups have reportedly stalled, even as Iran increases military pressure and rhetoric in response.
The Trump administration reportedly is considering arming Kurdish forces in the hopes of inspiring a popular uprising in Iran. Could you comment on that report?
I can comment on the fact that the president has held many calls with partners, allies, and leaders in the region, in the Middle East.
Rumors that Washington is quietly bankrolling a Kurdish strike force have deepened regional anxiety, with many in Tehran warning this could open a new, drawn-out proxy war between Iran and the US across multiple fronts. Several regional outlets and local sources reported that Kurdish militias based in northern Iraq crossed the frontier and launched limited cross-border attacks on Iranian positions, though the exact scale and impact remain unclear. Channel 12 journalist Barak Ravid first cited an unnamed US official as confirming that Kurdish fighters had begun a ground incursion into Iran, a claim that sparked intense debate in diplomatic circles and on global news networks. Ravid later stressed that there were now conflicting reports from the field, after one key Iranian Kurdish faction publicly rejected talk of a large-scale ground push and insisted its forces had not crossed into Iranian territory. Iran's Tasnim news agency, in reports carried by international wires, said its correspondents in 3 sensitive border provinces had seen no signs of a major Kurdish offensive, raising further doubts about the initial invasion claims. At the same time, multiple explosions were heard around the Iraqi city of Sulaymaniyah in the autonomous Kurdistan region, adding to the confusion over whether the violence was spillover from Iran or part of a separate operation. Regional coverage said at least 4 distinct blasts were reported near Arbat, Zarqouz, and Serdash, suggesting a pattern of coordinated strikes on Kurdish-linked sites scattered across the rugged border landscape. Those attacks were reported to have hit the headquarters and nearby facilities of the Kurdistan Toilers Association, an Iranian Kurdish armed group based inside Iraq, signaling Tehran's intent to pressure opposition factions beyond its borders. Iranian state media said Revolutionary Guard units had launched a cross-border operation targeting what it called anti-Iran separatist groups in Iraq's Kurdish region, framing the strikes as defensive moves to protect national security. This came as fighters from the Kurdistan Freedom Party, or PAK, were seen moving toward tense border areas near Sulaymaniyah, movements that analysts say could be preparation for clashes or simply a show of readiness. PAK representative Khalil Nadiri claimed that senior Kurdish political and military leaders had been contacted by American officials to discuss the outline of a possible future operation, though he offered few details or independent proof. On March 3, Iranian forces reportedly targeted the headquarters of the Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan inside Iraqi Kurdistan, continuing a pattern of cross-border strikes against exiled opposition movements. Reports from that day said 4 missiles and 1 drone hit a PDKI camp, damaging buildings, scattering fighters, and wounding at least 1 person, though casualty figures may still rise as more information emerges. Another strike, believed to be carried out by an armed drone, reportedly hit an arms depot linked to an Iranian Kurd opposition headquarters in the Dekla area, underscoring how supply sites are becoming prime targets. Security sources in the region said the Dekla strike injured at least 2 Kurdish fighters at the base and forced others to relocate, fueling fears that tit-for-tat attacks could drag the wider border region into deeper instability. Donald Trump has reportedly held phone conversations with key Kurdish leaders in Iraq to discuss the situation involving Iran, signaling a deeper US political engagement with Kurdish actors in the region. According to these reports, Trump reached out to Masoud Barzani and Baiful Talabani following months of lobbying by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, reflecting how regional allies are shaping Washington's outreach. The Associated Press has reported that Iranian Kurdish groups based in northern Iraq have been preparing for a potential cross-border operation into Iran, although the timing and scope of any move remain uncertain. These Kurdish Iranian dissident groups in northern Iraq are widely seen as some of the most organized elements of the Iranian opposition in exile, with established command structures and political wings. Observers say these factions may command thousands of trained fighters who could be deployed quickly against Iranian targets if given the political green light or faced with a direct threat. All this is unfolding as Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warns of what he calls terrorist movements along the Iran-Iraq border, framing the buildup as a security threat to Iranian sovereignty. Iraqi delivered that warning during a phone call with the leader of the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, urging Kurdish authorities to prevent armed groups from using Iraqi soil to threaten Iran. He also held talks with the president of Iraq's Kurdistan region, with both sides publicly agreeing to cooperate on de-escalation and to work toward maintaining peace and stability along their shared border. Meanwhile, Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani has declared that he will not allow Iraqi territory to be used as a staging ground for attacks on Iran, stressing Baghdad's commitment to regional stability. The White House publicly rejected claims that Washington has supplied weapons to Kurdish fighters in northern Iraq for use against Iran, insisting U.S. policy does not support such actions. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Donald Trump's calls with Kurdish leaders focused only on the security of the U.S. base in Erbil and did not involve promises of arms or new military support. Officials noted that the U.S. base in Erbil has been targeted by Iranian strikes since February 28, with Tehran describing the attacks as retaliation in its broader campaign across the region.
The Trump administration reportedly is considering arming Kurdish forces in the hopes of inspiring a popular uprising in Iran. Could you comment on that report?
I can comment on the fact that the president has held many calls with partners, allies, and leaders in the region, in the Middle East. He did speak to Kurdish leaders with respect to our base that we have in northern Iraq. But as for any report suggesting that the president has agreed to any such plan is completely false and should not be written.
Trump has been quoted as saying he's considering ways to back armed Iranian opposition groups, but he has so far outlined no detailed plan or formal policy change. When pressed directly on whether he was providing weapons to Kurdish groups, Trump sidestepped the question, repeating only that the U.S. would defend its interests and partners in the region.
Okay, you got it done. That's a good one. It's a good one, Underpresident. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Press. Thank you very much.
Press.